Hello and welcome everyone to Russian Turn 9 of my playtest of my Memoir 44 triple breakthrough scenario called Payback on Operation Bagration or Bagration. It's pronounced in several different ways. Um, the Russians have been doing a little bit of catching up. Um, Although not that much perhaps, but they have been making some breakthroughs here and there. Perhaps not on the left, where they not really, where they played a three on the left and one on the move, and they also got three flags on the ground reinforcement roll, so they managed to do something there. Um, the cavalry unit, first the engineer unit attacked the tanks, scored a hit. The cavalry was actually adjacent, but it got ambushed and suffered a hit, and because of that, it wasn't allowed to attack itself anymore. But the mobile artillery scored another hit against that particular tank unit. I guess it shouldn't have moved out of the cover of the woods over there. Um, well, the truck unit moved out of the way so as to open a path for potentially the mobile artillery over there. Um, these three units moved up, so there is a little bit. I wouldn't really call it a breakthrough yet, but the Russians are making some progress over there. In the center, they played a probe, 2 units in the center and 2 on the move. What did they do there? Well, most importantly, I guess a ground reinforcement they got, and it was a partisan unit, and it positioned itself on a potential exit hex for the Germans. So that is definitely a strategy the Russians can employ, because they can deploy partisan units in any vacant hill, marsh, or woods hex not adjacent to an enemy unit. So yeah, that is something perhaps they should have started doing sooner, and that is really a way to stop German reinforcements, but also German units from exiting near Minsk. Um, the minesweeping tank removed another minefield here, and these 2 units attacked the half-track unit, but they didn't score any hits. It's definitely a good tactic for the Russians to target half-tracks, even though in this case you wouldn't say so because they didn't score any hits, and it takes a while before you actually score medals with it. But you can really use an artillery bombard for that, and because it also keeps the Germans from resupplying their units, and that actually is quite thematic because supply was definitely a problem for the Germans in this particular battle for various reasons, but yeah, mostly because they were being harassed. Their supply lines were being harassed by partisans and everything, and I guess they were a bit low on supplies anyway. The terrain was difficult, lots of reasons. So it's definitely it cuts both ways. You limit the potential for the German units to resupply itself, and yeah, okay, it takes a while before you actually score a medal because you need to destroy 3 figures before you have one. But yeah, that's definitely a tactic worth considering. This minesweeping unit removed a minefield with an on-the-move order. This tank unit moved up into the pontoon bridge. So here, along with a little bit of help from the partisans, the Russians are getting close to making a breakthrough because the Germans score 1 victory point per exited unit off their own baseline, and the Russians score 2 victory points per unit exited off the German baseline. Finally, on the right-hand flank, they played a Recon 1 card, which they could have played as either an air power or an artillery bombard card, but in this specific case, they chose to simply play it as a Recon 1 card. An engineer unit here took out a sole German figure that remained there, so that was another medal. They moved up a mobile artillery unit, which can move to and not fire. In this case, obviously, it wouldn't have been able to fire anyway because it was an on the move. That tank unit moved up as well, and they got to, because they played it as a regular recon one, they got to roll 2 additional ground reinforcement dice, and they actually scored 4 star results, which means that they could choose a unit of their choice, except for a command car. For that you need 5, but they chose another mobile artillery unit. So again, the preliminary score is 8 for the Soviets, which is really not that much yet, but as they start to slowly, at the moment, really what they need to do is to prevent a German win. The Germans are close to victory, and of course not because they're close to actually winning the battle or something like that, but it just means that they're doing better than historically. They're really holding up the Russians and managing to actually save some of their own units. He who runs away lives to fight another day. Something Hitler forbade until it was too late, obviously, as he so often did. But in this scenario, that depends on the die roll. You roll 2 dice, and at the end of the German turn, starting on turn 3, and when the combined die roll is lower than the current turn, then from the next turn onwards, certain restrictions as to German movement are lifted. From then on, they can actually voluntarily move backward. They no longer have to ignore all flags, etc., etc., which makes it possible for the Germans to exit units, save them, basically retreat them in time, so that they can fight another day. So that's the idea behind that rule. Okay, so thank you for watching, and see you after the end of the German turn.